Good morning and happy Election Day. Welcome to District 29's Rocking the Vote initiative. My name is Dr. Crystal Barnes, and I am the Superintendent of Community School District 29, the community school district that shines. In 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed into law the Voters' Right Act. And that was because so many people did not have the right to vote. But we know that voting is an opportunity for change. So today, when you go out to the polls, please vote and remember to flip the ballot. This is the first year there's a Racial Justice Commission. So voting is just an opportunity. So make sure your voices are heard. Chancellor Banks has an initiative that all schools should have a student government. And so in District 29, we are ensuring that each of our schools have a student government. But just remember, your vote is your power. Use it. Take care and be well.
Good morning, District 29. I am Katora Hardy, the Family Support Coordinator.
And I'm Cheryl Everett, the Parent Coordinator at IS 59.
We are here to highlight the importance of learning the power of the vote. Learn why your vote matters. We will reimagine the student experience with your D29 Student Government Association, SGA. We have collaborated with PS 181, Dr. Olivo, and PSIS 208, Principal Mandel, to inform you about the election process.
Good morning, PS 181Q, and welcome to Blazer TV. PS 181's number one morning news program, where it's fire all the time at PS 181. Reporting from Studio 181, along with Makai, I'm Samaya. In this episode, we will cover an important topic, voting. We will cover what is voting, the history of voting, voting rights, and the process of voting. We will also talk about the student government election we will have right here at our school.
Okay, schoolmates, we need all your attention for this episode. Sit up and activate your ears to listen and your eyes should pay attention.
Thank you, Makai. Voting is a part of democracy, where people voice their opinions and it shapes the outcome of the decisions. It's basically a fancy official way to express yourself when you want to tell people what you want. Just like when you want to ask your parents for candy. And when a group of people vote between two or more different options, the options with the most votes wins.
Sometimes you get what you voted for, and sometimes you don't. You can vote for something as simple as choosing a movie to watch as a class, or for something a little bigger, like who could be class president, or who should receive a Kids' Choice Award for favorite singer, actress, TV host.
That's pretty cool, right? Nothing cooler or more powerful than voting in the U.S. election. Because that's when we get to decide who our leaders will be. There are different types of U.S. elections. We have midterm elections, primary elections, and the general presidential elections, where Americans get to choose the next vice president and president.
Well, sort of. A special group of people called the Electoral College gets to pick the president at first. You may think that the Electoral College is a school where people learn about politics, but that isn't the case. The Electoral College isn't even a police. It's the process that elects the President of the United States.
Each state has a certain number of electors. These electors then vote for the president. Each state gets an elector for each member of Congress from that state. Each member from the state in the House of Representatives, which is based on the population of the state, and two or more of the state's two senators. For example, California gets 55 electors. North Carolina gets 15. And Wyoming 3 and New York has 29 electors.
You are probably thinking, do electors have to vote a certain way? This depends on the state. In some states, there are laws requiring that electors vote the same as the people who voted for them. Most of the time, electors vote as expected, but in rare cases, they have changed their vote and voted for a different candidate than the people who voted for them.
But now that we know what voting is and the voting process, let's learn about who is actually allowed to vote. All U.S. citizens 18 years or older who are registered are allowed to vote.
But that wasn't always the case. For a really long time, many groups were excluded from voting right here in the United States. Back in 1789, when the U.S. was still in its early days, the founding fathers wrote a fancy, super important document called the Constitution. Now, today, the Constitution gives all Americans the right to vote free from discrimination.
Wow, that's a lot to remember. But back in 1789, that decision was left to the states. It wasn't until nearly 100 years later, in 1870, after the end of slavery, that all men born in the U.S., despite their race, could vote. Unfortunately, women could not vote yet. To make matters worse, around the 1880s, Black men in the South were once again denied to the right to participate in the elections because of Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws planned to create separate but equal rules that were definitely not equal for Black and white Americans. Black Americans who wanted to vote had to first overcome unfair obstacles, like paying poll taxes and passing reading and writing tests.
That wasn't fair at all, right? But those conditions didn't last very long. In 1920, women were finally allowed to vote fast forward to 1965. Past decades of oppression, unjust laws, and the blood, sweat, and tears of many Black Americans, including civil rights. Activists like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. President Lyndon Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act in 1965 that gave all U.S. citizens the right to vote. Think about that 1965. That really wasn't that long ago. Most of our grandparents were born before then, schoolmates. That's why voting is so important. Anyone who can vote must exercise their right to vote because it's a right that many people who came before us fought for us to have.
Now, you might be thinking, but am I not even old enough to vote yet? I'm still in school. Well, do you go to the park, library, school? Of course you do. All of those places places are controlled by the government, by the people that adults vote for in the elections, which means that even though you can't vote yet, the things being voted on still have a direct impact on your life. Express your opinions, let your voice be heard, or get involved in student government at our school. Now, let's talk about how the students of PS 181Q can run for different elected student government roles around PS 181. For example, we have class senators, president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and historian. So let's talk about them. Class senators represent their class and bring issues to the council. The class teacher chooses one student from each class in 3K to 5th grade. All elected student government members will represent our school and must be positive role models all the time.
Only a current fifth grader can fill the president role. They run all meetings, meet with advisors, lead flag salute at assemblies, read morning announcements, take an active role in fundraisers and snack sales.
The vice president can be filled by a current 4th grader or 5th grader. They assist the president, take over in absence of the president, assist the treasurer with financial duties, take an active role in fundraising sales, and snack sales.
Current 4th or 5th graders can fill the treasurer position. They help set up the flag deck, count and roll money, are in charge of sales at student council, fundraisers, and take active role in fundraisers.
The secretary is a current 4th grader. They take attendance role at each meeting, types notes on meetings, prepares notices of meetings, organizes, types, and handouts fundraising schedules, and takes an active role in fundraising sales.
The historian is a current 5th grader. They bring school cameras to all events and take pictures, give pictures to yearbook staff, help advisors keep the student council website current, and write brief explanations of events for the website.
Class senators will be chosen by October 28th. Students who would like to run for president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and historian can campaign the next week of October 31st. Schoolmates, there will be a school-wide election on Monday, November 7th.
I cannot wait to see who will be our elected student leaders at PS 181. I hope everyone has learned something new about voting, the history, the process, and why it is important to vote.
Thank you for watching this special edition of Blazer TV. PS 181Q, be sure to rock the vote and encourage your parents and family members to vote on Tuesday, November 8th. Have a great day!
Wow, just wonderful information from our students at PS 181. Wouldn't you agree, Ms. Leverett?
I certainly do. They are so informative and lively. That was wonderful.
Yes. So those were our elementary students, and now we will be looking at our middle school students at PSIS 208. This is their student council, and it was facilitated by Mr. Salvio. We are the voice of the students. We speak up for those who can't. Our goal is to make this school a place where everyone feels welcomed and loved. We allow students to become responsible leaders within our community and cultivate student traits of good citizenship.
So we get to hear from our vice president, their vice president, Ariana Bakish. Oh, sorry, I guess that is, I think that's the name, Baksh, I think. I
That's
hope
the
to
way
say
you
it
pronounce
right.
it, yes.
Yes, Baksh. Ariana Baksh, Ariana. And she just talks about the process of what it is to be vice president.
And then we have the treasurer, Zachary Clark. He talks about how he wants to run for treasurer at PSIS student 208 Students Council.
So then we talk about, or they talk about their positions, the different positions that they have: president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary.
The campaigning process with posters, they maximize the size of the posters, 4 by 3 feet. They had rules of no climbing on anything and different catchphrases on their posters to boost their chances of getting more votes. And no convincing classmates with snacks or candy.
So they then go into their process. Much of it's like what 181 talked about on as far as their process goes.
The accomplishments they have made, they sat and discussed their problems with their principal, Principal Mandel. They were able to hold assemblies and speak to grades 6 through 8. Fundraisers were done for student council t-shirts. They had via Zoom, they had election discussions for grades 3 to 8, and they were able to cast their votes via Google form. And these are the students, they're the first student body at PSIS 208. So congratulations to them.
Yes, congratulations. And then, of course, they thanked everyone who supported them in this process. And we would like to thank the administration and the staff who supported them as well. Great job.
Great job.
This is an interview with Miss Letitia Cummings from the Federation of Poverty Welfare Agency about the ballot proposals and local elections. Good afternoon, Ms. Cunningham. This is Letitia Cunningham from the Community Outreach Coordinator from FPWA. And I would very much like for you to share with us what your organization does and the full name and everything good about that.
Hello, my name is Letitia Cunningham. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Federation of Protestant Welfare Agency. FPWA is an anti-poverty and advocacy organization committed to economic opportunity and upward mobility.
Oh, great. So we're here today because District 29 is talking all about civic responsibility and the importance of the vote. And so I wanted to know, what do you believe is important for citizens to know, especially our young people, about the power of the vote, not just during national elections, but also during local elections?
So thank you for that question. For me, I believe it's important for citizens young and mature to vote and vote for leaders that represent their thoughts and their ideas. We vote to shape the country we want to live in. And local elections are extremely important because it shapes our immediate environment. When it comes to the trash cans on the corner, when it comes to how many times a week they get picked up, that all happens from our local elections and our local representatives.
Great. And I know now we have our ballot proposals. How significant are they to finding those viable solutions for improving the quality of life issues that you talked about?
Well, the current ballot proposal is historic because this is the first time an American city has created a racial commission to focus on racial justice and reconciliation and to identify actions that can be taken to amend the New York City Charter to root out structural racism in government functions.
Okay, are there other proposals attached to that? And do you know what they are specifically that people should be looking for on their ballots?
Thank you for that. So there's currently 3 proposals that I'm going to talk to you about. So the first proposal would be to add a preamble that is a statement of values to center equity as a guiding principle for city government policies. The New York City Charter, or the city's constitution, defines the organizations, powers, functions, and essential procedures of city government, from elected officials to the budgeting process. Today, it doesn't ensure equity or fairness in the design or delivery of government services. If the ballot measures are passed, that will change.
Okay.
The second ballot proposal is to establish a racial equity office, plan, and commission. The office would operationalize and support agencies to reduce racial disparities and to address marginalization of individuals or communities. The plan would require the mayor to create a citywide racial equity plan and individual agency racial equity plan every 2 years to identify and communicate publicly the goals and strategies, both short and long term, for improving racial equity and justice. The plan would also have indicators, including neighborhood level metrics, to measure the extent of progress for the racial equity work. The commission would be made up of everyday New Yorkers, composed of 15 New York City residents, intended to bring the perspective of often overlooked, underrepresented, and under-resourced communities into the decision-making process. The third ballot proposal, which I think that proposal is one that we definitely have to look at, is to have the city measure the true cost of living. The proposed measurement is intended to focus on dignity rather than poverty. By considering the cost of meeting essential needs, including but not limited to housing, childcare, dependent expenses, food, transportation, healthcare, clothing, hygiene products, cleaning products, household items, telephone, and internet services. This ballot proposal is so important because currently the federal poverty level says that a family of 4 making $27,500 are not in poverty. And this is the measurement used to set eligibility for public benefits.
Well, we know that in New York, that's certainly.
We both know that is not correct.
That is not correct. This definitely needs to be looked at. And I think that it's important that we understand that these ballot proposals are here and that we need to turn over that ballot, of course, when we go in to vote so that we can better ourselves and better even the preamble for the equity is important, to actually look at that and understand that there was no set mission or vision at the front of the charter. So yeah,
yes,
very important.
Exactly, and it can guide our government, and it's also going to be watching how our community is either getting better or is it staying stagnant. Mm-hmm. So it's measuring, the progress. Right now, we have no measurement of are we getting better. So that is something that we have to look at and we have to vote on.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add about the proposals or the importance of voting for our young people?
I would say to go out and vote. The first time I was able to vote, I was lucky enough to be voting for Obama. So I took so much pleasure in that. So I just want, the young people to go out and, look up our representatives, look up the people who are close to us and see if they match what you want to see in your community.
Right. Yeah. We need to look at our council people, our assembly people, our senators. All of that is very, very important, especially for the local races.
Yes, and the young people are the future, so I want them to get start voting as early as possible.
Great. Well, I thank you for joining us today and taking the time to give us some information on the proposals and just civic responsibility in general.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care.
This was our informational session about learning the power of the vote and why your voice matters. Just like Letitia was saying, the students, learning the student government and the process of voting is so important. Please go out and vote. It is important. Your voice matters. Thank you on behalf of District 29.